everyone, welcome in. My name is Charmaine and today it's Monday, which means it's a Page Turner's Book Club Monday. I host the Page Turner's Book Club with my friend Taylor. If you don't know who she is in the title of this video, so make sure that you go and check her out. Today we're doing the book club discussion for Everyone on This Train is a Suspect. Last month we read Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone. They're both by Benjamin Stevenson. I have enjoyed both of them. That is my cat meowing in the background. And let's get into it. So, if you did not know what the Page Turner's Book Club is, it's honestly a book club that just Taylor and I host here on YouTube. It's really easy to join. You just have to be like, yeah, I'm going to read the book, or, you know, anything like that. Sometimes, if you don't want to read the book, if it's not your genre, if it's not your kind of book, just skip it and go into the next month. It's really easy. You don't have to be in like a chat group. You don't have to apply for anything. You don't have to sign up for anything. We make it as easy as we can, okay? So I'm super excited to get into this one. I gotta tell you guys, I love this series so far. And he came out with a Christmas one this year. Like in December of 24, there was a new Christmas one that came out. So one of us is gonna suggest it for next December so that we can try and read that. Because then that way we'll have read all 3 of the books for this series. The first question, there's 10 questions this time, and then at the end we do cast the characters. So that's where we, like who we pictured in our mind, who's like, if they made this into a movie, that's who we would like want to see in the role kind of thing. So the first question is, the literary world depicted in Everyone on This Train is a Suspect is full of ego and pretension. Do you think the book's portrayal of the authors and the agents is a fair reflection of how literary culture often works, or is it exaggerated caricature? I said that being that I'm not in that world, I can't really say for sure, but I have heard some stories about authors becoming like famous and then it goes to their head and they're like, oh, I'm so-and-so, you know, I'm so good, blah, blah, blah. You can't talk to me, that kind of thing. I've also heard of some authors who are like brand new, they're coming out with their first book and then they go onto Goodreads and they like give 1-star like reviews and like say mean things about other authors to try and like boost their book up, or they have like fake Goodreads accounts and they go and try and like boost up their own book to make it like better. I don't know if being an author is stressful. Like I figure it is, because like every time you print a book or make a book, that's how you get your money kind of thing. Like not everybody's going to be Fourth Wing, you know what I mean? Like it's not going to be like everybody needs to read Fourth Wing. The 3rd one's coming out soon. Everybody's losing their mind about it. Like that's not how all books work. But everybody maybe wants to be at that level, but they're not at that level. So I could see some of that being it. But I don't think that like going and hurting other people so that trying to make your book look better works out good, because people find out and then nobody wants to read your book and you get bad reviews. So I have heard of like some jealousy in that part. And I could see, because like really their work depends on their next book, that kind of thing. So I don't know. I don't think it's a caricature. I think it's kind of like that. It might be exaggerated a little bit. Number 2 is the boundaries of the detective genre are both embraced and mocked in Everyone in This Train is a Suspect. Do you think sticking to the genre limits of creativity, or can you actually spark more ingenious storytelling? So Ernest in the book the entire time is like, there's rules to this, you know, there's no ghosts in this story. There's no ghosts in this story. He's like, you can't add a ghost into the story. And it's funny because on the train, he's talking to the other authors and he's like, there's no ghosts. And she's like, exactly, we don't add ghosts into these books. Like that kind of thing. So he does have like a very specific set of rules that he kind of sticks to. But I don't know if that works for every crime novel. Like probably. Because I don't know, because specifically for crime genres, detective genres, that kind of thing, I don't see there being a ghost, because it's not like a fiction kind of thing. I mean, like, it's fiction because it's not based on a real thing, but it's not like a fantasy kind of thing where there's like ghosts in the story and kind of thing like that. So I think maybe they have to be a little bit more ingenious with storytelling, because it's not based, like, you can't just be like, and then the ghost came down from the rafters and was like, boo, you know, like, so there's a different level to fantasy writing than there is to like crime fiction kind of writing, detective writing. Like detective writing is set more in real life, even though it's still fiction, if that makes sense. Like there's no dragons in it and stuff like that. So they do have to have like a little bit of like storytelling wise without bringing in like a hypothetical made up thing. But I think author-wise, you can write whatever you want. Like, if you look at T. Kingfisher, she never writes the same kind of genre twice, almost. Like, she'll do a fantasy one, she'll do, like, a young adult one, she'll do a horror book, contemporary romance, like, everything all over the board. So I think author-wise, you can write whatever you want. But if you were doing it for detective-wise, you kind of have to stay, like, in specific, I don't know, contemporary kind of roles, like that. Like, I mean, you could write, like, a past one, like, set in the 20s or whatever, but it would still be a contemporary kind of thing. If that makes sense. So then for number 3, it's considering Ernest's struggle with his publisher's demands, do you believe that the market pressures should influence how stories are told, or should authors have the freedom to create without worrying about profitability? So I do think that they should be able to write whatever they want to. However, it's very hard out there to get your book picked up by like an actual publisher, not just have to self-publish it. It's hard to get your story out there. I know that, like, honestly, anybody can write a book now. If you have a computer and you have, like, any kind of imagination, you can write a book. That's pretty easy. But to get some, like, actual publishing house to pick it up and, like, mass publish it is very hard. And not everybody's going to end up with, like, the success of Fourth Wing. Like, Rebecca Yarros, who wrote Fourth Wing, she was a romance writer first. I've never heard of her books before Fourth Wing came out. And, like, Fourth Wing was everywhere. I gotta tell you guys, I thought that book was overhyped. I was like, okay, come on. Like, because literally everybody was like, it's blowing my mind, it's blowing my mind, you know? And then I read it and I was like, oh, actually, it's pretty good. But not everybody has, like, that Stephen King level of, like, being able to publish a book. Like, a lot of people publish, like, 1 or 2 books, or like even 6 books kind of thing, but they're not making that Stephen King level money. They're not making that Fourth Wing level money. So, like, you have to do the work and put out more books to be profitable. But it's awesome if you're trying to write a book and you want to get it out there. That's fantastic. Like, I mean, live your dream. Totally do that. Because somebody out there will read it. There's a book out there for everybody, 100%. That's my thoughts. Number 4 is Ernest Cunningham often seems more invested in his writing career than his relationship with Juliet. Is his behavior indicative of a broader issue of prioritizing profession over personal life, or is Ernest simply a flawed individual who learns to balance these aspects with time? So, Ernest is very much about himself. This is my opinion, but I'm telling you guys. Like, Juliet lost her... In the first one, she loses her business because she has, like, the ski hotel business. She loses her business. She was also almost killed. She wrote a book herself, and homeboy has forgotten everything about this. Like, he's like, we really get along really well. I love her. We never fight. But I mean, like, she wrote a book. Her book was more successful than his. She's the one who actually got invited onto the train thing. And then she said no because she needed, like, she thought that he needed it more. And she tells him this, and he's, like, shocked that that he wasn't invited on the train. He's, like, shocked that she put him first. She's like, I lost my business. I had this happen. I was also a part of it. And you don't seem to remember any of that. Like, you never asked me what I need, what's going on, what am I going to get my business back? You never asked me any of that stuff. So he's very, very much about himself. Homeboy has never once been told that he's not the only person who exists on the world. Okay? I'm just saying that. My mom used to tell me that. You're not the only person who exists. In a nice way. But, like, seriously, you got to be aware of the fact that, like, there's this thing called Sonder. It's an Icelandic term, and it literally means everybody has the same as much of a complex life as you do. You just don't think about them as much because they're not you. Like, so everybody out there is living a very complex life. They have friends, they have loved ones, they have things going on, they have passions, they have dreams. All of that stuff that you have, they have it too. You just don't think about it. Other people don't think about that. And, like, Ernest never thinks about Juliet, and that's his girlfriend. And he's trying to, like, marry her. Dude, pull your head out of your butt. Like, honestly, he is lucky that she talks to him at the end, okay? I'm just saying. Lucky. And homeboy accuses her of murder on top of it. He's like, oh, maybe you killed this guy. She's like, are you kidding me? Like, are you kidding me right now? Okay. And he does it while he's proposing to her. Oh, by the way, there's spoilers in this video. But I'm just saying, he's proposing to her, and then he's like, wait, did you murder this guy? And she's like, are you kidding? Like, okay. Okay. I'm not the biggest fan as Ernest. Like, I mean, I like him, but at the same point, I kind of want to flick him in the face. Like, hard. Okay, number 5 is Harriet Murdoch's extreme actions to aid her husband's highlight her perception of success and anonymity. Can such intense devotion ever be justified, or does it inevitably lead to harmful outcome for everyone involved, including those who she aims to protect? So for Harriet, her husband, Jasper, is actually the author of Henry McTavish's books. Like, he's a ghostwriter, and then they're published underneath Henry's name. Henry literally does not know what is happening in his own books, okay? He literally has no clue what... Like, I mean, if you're gonna get somebody else to write your books, at least read them so that you have an idea of what's going on. Because he just, like, always dissuades into, like, he makes, like, a joke about what they're saying or something like that. Like, you know, he never actually answers the questions that people are asking him about his books. And then he actually has no clue that what's happening in it. Like, it just blows my mind. If you're going to have a fake person or, like, AI write your book or whatever you're planning on doing, make sure that you read it before you put it out there. You gotta know what's happening in the book, at least. So she's mad because Jasper's writing the books and he's not getting any credit for it. And, like, nobody knows that he's writing them. Plus, he's a self-published author because nobody would pick up his book, even though he's writing it for the Gemini, like, publishing house, which they owed him, like, they had a deal with him that if he kept writing these books, then he would, like, get his book published. And then they were like, no, we're not going to publish your book. So that's, like, mean. So she's mad because she wants people to know that her husband is actually the writer of these books. Like, he deserves the fame. He deserves the glory. He deserves to be having, like, people be like, oh my gosh, your new novel is the best. That kind of thing, instead of being, like, ignored, which is essentially what he's being. But Jasper is much more chill about it. He's like, I just want to write books. I'm having a good time. I would like it if my book got published. It was supposed to get published, but then they said no, and, like, people gave me bad critiques, and he's like, and that's, like, part of the game. Like, he's just, like, so easygoing about it, whereas she is, like, not. And then, you know, if you read the book, as spoilers, as I said earlier, she ends up killing Henry McTavish, which, I mean, like, I don't think that she's right, but I'm not saying that she's, like, I mean, like, she's not wrong, but murder is wrong. So, like, you know, I wouldn't have murdered him, but I definitely would have, like, brought all of his stuff out, you know? I would have laid his stuff out so that people knew that he was not the writer. And also that he's a graper. Number 6 is Lisa Fulton's journey in confronting her past with McTavish raises questions about justice and personal sacrifice. To what extent should individuals be responsible for seeking justice in difficult circumstances? So, Lisa was actually SA'd by Henry McTavish when she was, like, way young. Like, she's also an author, but she was way young. Is she an author? Yeah, she's an author. But I think that she started out, no, Simone started out as his assistant. But there's something that happens. She ends up getting pregnant. She's like, oh, I'm going to go to the cops. And then he buys her off and makes her sign an NDA, which is, like, you can't talk about it. So she has to, like, keep that secret, but then she also has a daughter, and she explains to her daughter, like, Henry McTavish is your dad, and then the daughter becomes, like, really obsessed with him and, like, reads all of his books and thinks that she's, like, she becomes, like, the president of his... Her name's Brooke. She becomes the president of his fan club, and then she finds out that, like, he actually, like, hurt her mom, and that's how this all happened. And there's, like, a blurb that they put on the front of Lisa's book, and she gets really upset about it, but nobody realizes that she's upset because of the fact that he's hurt her, and that's what he said when he hurt her. So, like, he's a terrible person. He's stealing the ghostwriting material. He's not even reading it. He did bad stuff to women, and, like, he did a lot of bad stuff to a lot of women from the sounds of it. Like, he's just a terrible person. So when he is eventually unalived, I mean, like, I know it's a character in a book. I wouldn't do it for a real person, but for a character in a book that's kind of a jerk, it's alright. Sounds so bad. Like, not a real person. But he should have got jail time at least. Number 7 is Jasper Murdoch chooses to remain a ghostwriter despite his talent, focusing on the joy of writing rather than fame. Does this make him a figure of humility and contentment, or can it be seen as a missed opportunity to claim rightful recognition in such a competitive industry? I wish that people knew that he actually wrote the book. Like, I don't know at the end of the Everyone on the Train is a Suspect book, like, if I don't know if it came out to like the public that he's been the writer the whole time. I don't know if that's what happened, or if it was like just like the people that were on the train know, or something like that. But like, hopefully it would eventually come out that he actually wrote these books, and then he would be the one who was like getting the money from it or something. Or they like published his book that he originally tried to get published with Gemini, and then they took back their deal. I think that that would also work. Like, if he could get some recognition that way, like be his own writer of his own story. But technically, all of the Henry McTavish detective, it was detective something. I can't think. It's here. So he wrote the Detective Moribund series is what it was in this story. So like all of those Moribund books are actually Jasper's. So technically he already has a book series out there, but nobody knows that he wrote it. But if it did come out that he wrote it, he should be able to get the money from it, or something. Some kind of, the covers be changed, the real name put on there. Like, Stephen King is also Richard Bachman, so he can like have those two different kind of writing styles. You know what I mean? Like, but he gets the money from both. So you think like they could change it from being Henry McTavish's Detective Moribund books to Jasper's Moribund books kind of thing, or something like that. Or they could like publish the one that they said that they were going to, that kind of thing. He should get the recognition is what I'm trying to say. That's a long-winded way of trying to say it, but he should get it. I understand though that he just likes writing. He just wants to be a writer. To him, the fame and fortune aren't that exciting. He just wants to actually be a writer. Number 8 is many characters in Everyone on this Train is a Suspect are not what they seem. How does the theme of the false identity shape your perception of trust and betrayal in this story? Okay, so Jasper is the ghostwriter of the Henry McTavish's book. Lisa was assaulted by him when she was younger. Brooke is her daughter, but you don't know that Brooke is her daughter because you just think that she's like the Henry McTavish's fan club guest on the train, because like there's a whole bunch of authors, but then there's also people who really like their books there, so that it's like a writer's retreat kind of thing on a train. And then there's Simone was his assistant when she was young, Henry McTavish's assistant when she was young. So like there's a lot of people who aren't exactly who they say they are, and it leads to a lot of twists in this book. I read this via audio. I probably should have read it with actual paper, like the actual physical copy, because there was so many things in it that I probably missed from listening to it. But the listening to it is so good. The audio actor is insanely talented. Like, his voice, the way that he talks, like, he even gets like a different kind of whiny voice with different characters. Like, he did such a, it wasn't even like he was reading it, it was like he was like a dramatization reading of it kind of thing. So insanely good. I highly recommend, because he brings the comedy out in it. Like, it just, the whole different level of listening to it via audio than reading it. I would have missed a whole bunch of like nuances that he did audio wise, then I would have like not had, you know what I mean? Like, when I read it physically, it was so good. As for changing the perception or the trust and the betrayal of the story, I don't really know. Like, that's kind of how thrillers are. The red herrings, I think they're called, where, you know, look over here, but something's happening over here. You know what I mean? Like, that kind of thing. That's pretty much what mystery and thriller kind of books are. And this is like a mystery kind of crime book. So you kind of have to have that. So I don't think it changes anything, because often in thrillers, mysteries, stuff like that, there's a false identity in something. Number 9 is the Gemini pen serves as a symbolic link between the power and downfall. Do you believe in the pen is mightier than the sword? Can words cause more harm than action within the context? So the Gemini is the publishing company that Henry McTavish is published under. And I think there's another one too. I'm pretty sure. Published where? Yeah, Alan Royce. So there's 2 like people that are published by Gemini on there. There is like it's like a pen. It looks like an inkwell pen, but it's like not an inkwell pen, but I think they're called calligraphy pens, really, is kind of what it is, that they give out as like a gift when you work with them. So that's like the actual pen that they're talking about. Do you believe in the pen is mightier than the sword? Yeah, probably. I don't really know. It's a pretty like older saying, where essentially is what they're saying is like getting into a fight isn't going to help you. You should use your words, kind of thing. So I think yes, to a certain point. For this book, yeah, I guess. Can words cause more harm than action within the context? Yes. Especially for this, because they're all writers, so they're all writing stuff down. Like, it's all written words. So yeah, I think for that. However, like, 2 people did die in this. I don't know. I don't really know how to answer that one, so I'm just moving on to the next one. Number 10, or what are your overall thoughts on the book? Did you suspect any of the twists? So my overall thoughts were, I'm really torn, you guys. I'm really, really torn. So I really enjoyed this book. I really enjoyed the first one. The first one I was like, yes, 5 stars. But this one I've gone back and forth on. I'm like, I went to 5 stars originally, and then I was like, no, maybe it's a 4 stars. But now I'm like, I think it is a 5 stars. I actually think I like it more than I liked the first one, because I found this one to be a little bit more, I don't know, suspenseful is not the right word, but twisty maybe. Maybe this one was a little bit more twisty to me. So I think, because on my Goodreads, I originally put 4 stars, but I think I'm going to put it up to 5. Because I really enjoyed this book, and like, I just finished it yesterday, but in the middle of the night, I woke up so I could think about it for a little bit, and then I was like, oh yeah, you know, like that kind of thing. Like the thing where Jasper being his ghostwriter, I had no clue that that's what was happening. I had no clue. The fact that Harriet was the killer, no clue. No clue that that was what happening. I thought Simone, like Ernest's agent, was the killer for a while. Like, I had no clue that that was happening. So there was so many twists and turns that I didn't see coming, that to me, that's like a 5-star book to me. Because there was so many things that I couldn't guess, that, you know, for like thriller wise, that's a good 5-star book. If you can't figure out what's happening by the end of it, that's a good 5-star book. So I think I'm going to give it a 5 stars. I had no idea on any of the twists. As I just told you guys, no clue that that stuff was happening. Like, she bought poppies, and the certain kind of poppy that she bought, she boiled into a tea, which became a poison. Like, who would even think of this stuff? Like, anyways, I thought it was awesome. I did have it at 5. I went to a 4, but the more I think about it, it is a 5-star. So I'm going to give it 5 stars. I enjoyed it a lot. I'm very happy that we read it for our first book of 2025. I think it worked out great. I am happy that we are on track for how we're going to be reading stuff, so that's perfect. Okay, so now we have cast the characters of the book. So originally in our last video, our last review video, when we did Everyone on This Train is a Suspect, I said that Nicholas Hoult was my Ernest and Kat Graham was my Juliet, just so you guys know, because they are 2 main characters in this. So I'm just reminding you of who I had originally, okay? So then for the rest of the characters, for Henry McTavish, I have Brian Cox. He was in Braveheart and Troy. I remember him mostly in Troy. I think he played Menelaus. I don't like Brad Pitt, but I love the Troy movie. That I love Greek mythology retellings, and it's a Greek mythology retelling, and I love those kind of movies. And I swear, as soon as they were like, this guy is an older Scottish guy and he walks with a limp and he's very cantankerous, at like the beginning of the book when they were talking about Henry McTavish, I pictured this Brian Cox guy's face in my mind, but I did not know his name. So I was like, older Scottish actors, I had to Google it to try and figure out like who he was, and that's exactly who I pictured in my head. Like every time he had a line on this, like on the page in like while I was reading, listening, every single time he talked, I was like, that's that guy. That's that guy. Like, honestly, I pictured his face so completely well that I was like, there's nobody else who could fill this role. Brian Cox would be amazing for it. Then for Lisa Fulton, I have Rebecca Ferguson. She's in Dune, the TV show, and she was also on the White Queen TV show. I'm putting their pictures up on screen if you guys haven't seen it, but I am putting them up there. She just kind of reminds me of, because I think maybe she's British. I'm not 100% sure. She might be Australian, but because it's an Australian author who's reading the book, like it's an Australian voice actor who's reading it, it's an Australian author book. So I tried to find people who are a little bit like from, like, you know, Brian Cox is from Scotland. Henry McTavish is Scottish. You know, like I tried to find stuff like that. But I think Rebecca Ferguson would fit it. She seems very proper, I guess, is what I would go for. So I just thought Rebecca would be good for that. And then for her daughter and Henry McTavish's daughter, I have Sadie Sink. She's an American actress, but I think that she would be, because she has red hair, I think that she would be a good daughter. The super fan, she was like the leader or the manager, whatever they would be called, of Henry McTavish's like fan club. So I thought she would be good for that. For SF Majors, who's an author, she does the Twists and Turns series on the train. I put Rose Byrne, I think it's Rose Byrne or Rose Bryan from Bridesmaids. She plays a really good comedic role, but she also does really good serious roles. So I thought that she would be good for it. For Alan Royce, who the voice actor did a really good kind of like whiny, creepy like voice with him. So in like Weasley kind of voice. So I pictured this guy. His name is Michael Emerson. He was in Lost. And in Lost, he's a creepy dude. So, and I don't even know, like, I mean, I've seen Lost once, like 10 years ago. So I'm not even 100% sure if he's a creepy dude or just in my mind, he plays a creepy dude, but he is a creepy dude. You know, he's like, if you have ever seen, what was that show? Rose, oh my gosh, the dad, Rose Matter? No, it's some kind of Stephen King book that was turned into a movie, and he keeps the daughter like in a well, I think, or something like that. And every time, Dolores Claiborne, it's Dolores Claiborne, because every time I see that actor, I'm like, he's Dolores Claiborne's dad, he's the bad guy. So in every single movie that I see, even in comedies, I'm like, there's something wrong with him, because that's who I see. So for this Lost guy, I see him as like a creepy kind of like Weasley kind of bad guy. And not that like Alan Royce was really a bad guy, but he was a little creepy Weasley. So then for Wolfgang, who's the multi-award winning international literary crime fiction guy, I picked Daniel Craig. He's from the Glass Onion, Knives Out. He's like kind of like a new detective kind of guy, but just for me, I thought that he would be a good one for that. For Wyatt Lloyd, who is the owner of the Gemini Publishing, he publishes Henry McTavish's and Alan Royce's books. I picked Sam Rockwell. He's from Charlie's Angels. That's mainly what I know him from. But he plays a good, slightly devious guy. Like, he could be a good guy, but he's probably a bad guy. And he is good at playing that. So, and that's kind of what I think of, like, Wyatt Lloyd as being the publisher, because he is, you know, he covers up the fact that Henry McTavish did some bad stuff. He goes back on his deals with people, like, and he tries to keep, like, he's like, oh no, Jasper, you have to keep writing these books because I'm making this money. So this is how this is going to work. And if you don't like it, too bad, kind of thing. So, like, that's how I see him. For Jasper Murdoch, I picked Guy Pearce. I honestly just think that, because I think Jasper is like a quiet kind of laid back dude who likes to write books. And I could see Guy Pearce being like as a quiet laid back dude who likes to write books, you know, like that kind of thing. He also did play a bad guy in something though. So every once in a while, depending on the photo, he looks like a creepy guy to me. So not that I'm saying that Jasper was creepy, but he just like, he would give off that vibe if he needed to. And then for Harriet Murdoch, I have Helena Bonham Carter. I thought that she would suit because Homegirl's a little crazy, or she plays it well. I'm not saying that she's crazy in real life, but she plays it well. She was in the Harry Potter books, if you heard the movies, if you've seen those, she plays it very, very well on a wee bit of a psychopath kind of thing. And then for the last person, we have Simone Morrison, who is Ernest's agent. I picked Stephanie, I think it's Beatrice. She's from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. She plays Rosa. I just thought, because she can do comedy, she can do serious, she can do anything. And every once in a while, Simone's kind of funny. She's like, dude, I'm not your friend. I mean, like, your publisher. Like, you know, but like she says it in a different way where you're like, oh yeah, right. You know, like, and I don't know, she's kind of funny in the book. And she's like, oh, my scarf, you know, like that kind of thing. So I thought that she would be good because she can be both serious and funny. And I just figured that she would suit. And that's kind of how I pictured her. Like most of the characters, as strong as Brian Cox most of the characters were not that strong to me. But this, when I thought about it and I like saw their faces, I was like, oh yeah, that's who I would pick. You know, because some of these people, I don't know their names in real life. Like Rebecca Ferguson's name, I don't know her name other than when I'm telling it to you right now. But that's totally who I picked for Lisa Fulton. you know, that kind of like image and stuff like that. Yeah, so let me know if you like the book. Let me know if you read the book. Please go over and check out Taylor's video and watch her review as well. I can't wait to hear what she thinks because I super enjoyed this one. This one was a good one for me. Like, that's what I said, 5 stars, 100%. And I keep thinking about it, and I know I just finished it yesterday, but that's a good indication of the fact that it was awesome. I really do want to read that Christmas one, so I'm going to suggest it for Christmas when we get there. Let me know who you thought for as a character. Let me know, did you suspect any of the twists? Did you suspect that it was Harriet? Let me know that part. Let me know how your day is going, what's new with you, and all of that good stuff. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and like this video, and leave a comment in the comment box, anything that you want to talk about. Make sure that you go over or check out the vote. The vote might be closed by the time I'm posting this, but I don't think so because I'm filming this in advance, so I have a little bit of extra time with it. Check out my description box for other content creators. I also have Canadian small businesses down there if you want to check them out as well. And thank you guys so much for spending a couple minutes of your day with me today. I really, really appreciate that, and I really, really appreciate you. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye!